welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Ken Post here, who is here on behalf of the Hearing Remedy. Well, Ken, nice to have you in studio. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to be here again.
Yes, yes. I know you were here a while ago, and we appreciate you bringing lots of great information to us. And you know, today is no different, and there's a lot of things that go into picking out the right person to help you with your hearing. And so we're going to kind of go over that today. Tell me a little bit about, first of all, technology is pretty amazing right now, and it just keeps changing faster and faster. Why are hearing aids just so amazing?
Well, it has to do with technology and where technology's gone the last 20 years. Everything's gotten smaller and smaller, and we have these tiny, tiny hearing aids now that have so much computing power in this little thing. And they have a tiny battery that has to run this thing. These will run the hearing aid for 4 days.
Wow.
So to have that happen is just taking a lot of technology. There's multiple processes going on in this hearing aid that help you hear. They, like when you walk into a restaurant, they adapt to that restaurant. When you get in your car, they adapt to the car. There's different noises they're adapting to help you hear in these very different situations. So you don't have to fiddle with your hearing aids. They do all that work for you. Pretty amazing.
Is that part of artificial intelligence yet or not yet?
There is some of that going on, yes. There's definitely AI in the hearing aids that help with that, figuring out what kind of situation, how do I make a little tweak to the hearing aid automatically. You, as the user, you don't have to worry about that. You're just wearing them, and they make them so good now that there's so little fiddling. I remember my mom.
I was just going to say, they're like adjusting, right? And and then you would hear this weird feedback.
Yeah, you'd hear
so
the
that
whistling.
Must be horrible inside your ear, right? But that doesn't happen anymore.
I know, you could hear it loud from
I could too. I know. I could imagine how awful it must be in your own ear. But you don't hear that anymore.
Very little, Sometimes if they don't have their hearing aid put in completely, you might get some of that because it's not really going in their ear right. But otherwise, they do an amazing job keeping the feedback from happening.
Now, you had showed us that has a little battery in it, but now is that something that we would have to fiddle with because it's awfully tiny, and boy, I'd have to get out my microscope to see anything to change it out. Do you have to do that, or that's not something that an individual has to do?
This tiny if you want the really small hearing aid that just disappears in your ear, then you end up putting up with these tiny, tiny batteries. When we get into the behind the ear, they're slightly larger than this one, but they have a rechargeable battery. You recharge them like your cell phone. You put them in a recharger at night, and then they're ready in the morning. But if you want the really, really super tiny ones, then you're talking about having to fiddle with a battery.
Oh, so I personally would have to do something with that battery.
About every 4 days, you're going to have to take it out. It's going to beep in your ear that the battery's low. And then you're going to have to take that out and put another one in.
And that's awfully small. Can I just come to you every 4 days and have you do it? Because I don't know if I can see that.
They are. I mean, it took me about a year when I first got into hearing aids to deal with these really small batteries. The larger behind the ear, and there's actually the larger ones that go in your ear, have a battery about twice that size. So they're much easier to handle and they also have a little tab that helps you
place it in there,
and you have to peel the tab off and then close the door on the hearing aid.
You know, I've always wondered when they have these small, tiny things, you know, we can't see, so it's really hard for us to see all this stuff. So that's interesting because, you know, the smaller and the more technologically advanced the hearing aids are, they're probably a little more expensive too, right?
Actually, like these form factors have come out in different levels, from premium down to the basic level. And you can't tell from looking at the outside of these hearing aids just what level they are, because they pretty much look the same at each of the levels. It's just how much technology is helping you in the premium level versus when you get to the simpler basic levels. There's not as much technology actually helping, adapting, and that kind of thing, and you don't tend to hear as well when it's noisy.
Well, you know what? Hearing is a complicated situation. I mean, the way we process our hearing. You know, compare that to what's going on or how we can understand what's happening with the hearing aids. Like, is it as complicated as our hearing, or is it not?
It is very complicated.
Okay.
And the whole process of adjusting these, it's the hearing professional's job to do all the complicated stuff.
Okay.
It's your job to wear them. Now, you don't have to know anything complicated. You just wear them. You might have a volume control on them. Typically, if they're adjusted right, they adjust the volume for you.
Okay.
If they're adjusted properly, you just wear them. They work that well.
Okay.
The complicated end is actually in getting the fit for your unique hearing loss.
Okay.
Everybody's is a little bit different. Some people are easier to get adjusted than others, but it's a matter. That's where the complication comes in. About 3 years ago, I was looking at one of the main hearing aid I was fitting at the time, and I figured out there was 4,000 areas I could adjust on that hearing aid.
Wow.
And from those 4,000 areas, there was about 19,000 possible adjustments.
Wow,
So,
how do you know all of that? I mean, that's obviously something that you've gone to school for. You've got lots of training. You have experience. So these are the kinds of traits I'm imagining you would look for in someone.
You have to have someone who really understands computers. I spent 40 years as an electronics engineer. So I understand that end of it, and I understand how everything works together. And it takes someone who's pretty smart to do that. That's one of the things you need to look for is, this is person computer savvy. 30 years ago, you didn't even see computers in the hearing aid store.
Right.
They were done, there was all this manual adjusting on them and fiddling with them.
Right.
Now it's all done by computer.
Right.
And one of the things to get a license in California, you don't even have to know how to program a hearing aid. Or at least when I went through it 5 years ago, there was no test on how to program a hearing aid. There were other things, like the hearing test is important.
Right.
And knowing how to adjust certain things, or we used to do a lot of custom where we did an ear mold, and then it was made to fit like a glove in your ear.
Right.
This replaces that custom with a rubber piece. You get the right size rubber piece on here that fits in your ear right, and you don't need a custom part anymore. So making the custom molds is not, I mean, almost everybody was done custom in some way 15, 20 years ago. And now almost everybody, we can find a way to fit them properly. And it really gets down to that, the feedback. We were talking about that squealing we heard from our mom's hearing aids, or dad's hearing aids, that they electronically process that out.
Okay.
So they don't have to plug up your ear as much.
Right.
These are much more comfortable than a custom hearing aid because they're not plugging your ear up. They're just using the electronics to keep that squealing from happening.
Okay. And then obviously, your background helps you be able to help people figure out what they need to do, and you do all of the background work so they don't need to worry about it. One thing I know you wanted to mention real quick is real ear measurements. What does that mean?
It's one thing that's touted by some people as, you've got to do the real ear measurements to make sure that how we've adjusted your hearing really fits this manufacturer's model of what you're supposed to have.
Okay.
Well, not everybody fits that model anyway. So if you get them precisely fit to the model and your hearing is different than that model, you're really not doing them a favor. It really takes a lot of dialogue between me and you to get this fit right.
Right.
That's why you can't just have a machine do it right now. When they get the machines to a point they can read your mind, then they'll be able to set up your hearing aids without having a human being involved. But right now, it really takes a lot, and not a lot of places take that time.
Right, exactly.
So,
well, excellent information. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in.
Thanks.
All right.
You're welcome.
If you want more information about Ken Post and his experience, as well as what they offer, you can go to hearingremedy.com. We'll be right back.